Hello.
My name is André Martins. I have been working in IT for 30 years. The last 12 in financial services in companies like Cielo, Serasa Expedia, and now at Zoop. I've been Zoop for 2 years now. I'm head of IT and lead all the technology team at Zoop. Zoop is a fintech. We have two main platforms. One platform for banking as a service and for payment as a service. And you can take it as a whole, so all the banking, all the payments platform, or you can choose and pick some of the solutions that fits your needs or the needs of your customers and create your own solution. So you're going to see us always behind the scenes. You're not going to be in the forefront. This is for your company to be. So let's talk about what is embedded finance. And it's funny how in this modern world we create new words or new acronyms for things that we use for many, many years. So if you think about our foreparents, for instance, our grandfathers and things like that, you used to have tabs, for instance, when you go to grocery stores. So maybe in the past you went to grocery stores, asked for milk, for flour, for other stuff, and they're going to put in a tab. By the end of the month, you're going to go there and pay the tab, or they are going to come to collect. So embedded finance is something that is related to finance, that you put in a product that is not a financial one, or a platform, or a customer journey. So in this case, a tab in the past used to be also embedded finance. But more recently, we are so used to that, for instance, when you buy a car and you have a financial being offered by you, by the dealer, this is also a form of embedded finance. What happened was close to 2 years, 2000, with all the digitalization that we are seeing, we are now having all these solutions coming to products and to other platforms, and they are so embedded that you not think about them. So, for instance, if you have, probably all you guys have, an account in Amazon, you do have a credit card that is registered there. So every time you're going to buy and do one buy click, something like that, this has a solution behind the scenes. So it's pretty common for us to see a payment solution embedded in some other solution. It can be a marketplace, it can be in a rental, it can be something, it can be a streaming service, for instance. Okay, so payments is very, very common. But we are seeing things getting more complex, for instance. So we are seeing lending being offered in these kind of platforms. We are seeing insurance. So now it's pretty common for you, for instance, here in Brazil, with Mercado Livre, for instance, you have, if you're buying an appliance or something that has a high cost, they are going to offer you an insurance or an extended warranty, for instance, and you can buy it together with the process. And this is so easy for you because you don't have to think, you don't have to go for a different site or something like that. Just click and say, okay, I do want to have an extended warranty here. I'm going to pay something more, and this is going to make my journey easier. And of course, Mercado Livre is going to take a cut for them. But moreover, they're going to have information as well. So sometimes we look for those solutions and we think about, oh, there is money there. Of course there is. We want money. This is important for our business. This is why we do have business. But also you have information that we can take from this process and then later on figure out what is the journey, what they are doing with that, and increase your adherence with the customers that you have. So what you can create with embedded finance. So you can create a full bank platform. So a digital account, this is pretty common. It depends on what you want to achieve, but this is something that you can do. You can have just one piece of it. You can have money transfer between you, the customer, or some other third party that you have within your supply chain. You can have cards, so you can issue new cards. You can use different cards as accepted cards as payment methods and things like that. And of course, as I said, so it's pretty common to see payment solutions being used in embedded finance. Oh, sorry. So Card payment. So now it's pretty common to use card payments, and you're using every day in every kind of service that we have. So you see the application, then there is a card there. Maybe it's a virtual one, maybe it's a physical one, and it's there, and you don't have to think about it. So it makes our journey much easier. So you don't have to look into your pocket. Well, where's my card? Then I have to type all those numbers and make sure that it's going to work. It's there. Someone is taking care of it to me and for this company. And the company doesn't have to understand the whole process because they are probably a marketplace. They can be a car rental company or something like that. They don't care about the payments process. They just want to see the money coming in and arriving in their account. Payments in general. So it's not only credit card, right? So here in Brazil, everybody knows the Pix. So Pix is something that is pretty big. We are going to see Bitcoin and other forms of payments. We have boleto still in Brazil. We have other forms of payments that those companies need to have in order. It died. Oh, sorry. He went black, but it's working. Sorry. So we see other kinds of payments, not only digital ones or credit cards and things like that. We are seeing lending, and for us in Brazil, install payments is something that we had for many years. I think that's a cultural thing. If it fits our pocket, doesn't matter how much is the interest rate, you are going to buy it. This is the wrong mentality, but nevertheless, this is the kind of thing that Brazilians do. So we have lending in every kind of thing. So you go to a marketplace, you go for a drugstore, and you can buy medicines in installments. So we have it for years, right? And BNPL is something that is very kind of new in US and in Europe. There are going to be some driving force for market growth there. But here is something that is already something that we use. Investments. So you can have a banking account that is going to give you part of the interest rate of the country as for you if you leave the money there, right? Insurance, as I said. So normally you're going to see in marketplace when you buy an appliance, can be a refrigerator or something like that. So you can have an insurance or warranty extension there being offered to you together in this process. So again, makes your life much simpler than trying to figure out who can do that in the future for you if you have a problem. And of course, the banking as a whole. We're going to talk about it later on. So the advantages. Well, first of all, you extend the company's portfolio, right? So not only the products and the kind of solutions that we have, but you can have a new revenue stream. You can have a new product that is going to be offered for your customers. As I said, this is a new revenue stream. So maybe this is going to start as something that is not as big, but it can become very important. If you remember, we're going to talk about it, when Sears started to have the cashback card with Discovery in the US, this was a very small company, then it became a company itself, so Discovery was a spun-off from Sears, and Sears now is a defunct company, but Discovery still be a flagship card scheme in the US. Brand attractiveness. Your company is going to be something that the customer is going to look for and try to use because it's easier, right? So I don't have to, okay, I'm going to buy there, but if I have to find a financial solution to pay in installments, so I have to ask for my bank to have something, that I have the money, then I go there and do the purchase. So this process is kind of hard and it creates a lot of attraction, and then you give a lot of chance for the customer to say, you know what, I'm not going to buy it anymore. I didn't need that much. So when you streamline the whole process, you make the user come back more and more and more. So this is important, right? And it can be a place where the customer has everything. We talk about super apps for many years. There are some discussions there if it is a good thing or not, but there is space for super apps to happen and to be used, okay? You have a competitive advantage against your competition, right? So if they are not doing, you're doing something different. If you are not doing, probably they are doing it and you're losing. So this is nothing. This is not something that you can say, oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't know. I'm Bosch, for instance. I do sell other kind of equipments. This is not for me. It is. At Zoop, normally we'll say that every company is going to be a fintech in a way or another. This is the way it is. This is going to, we are going to have more contact with the customers that we have. Every day we are going to take information from that. You're going to have direct line of the customer. So being a fintech, this is going to be important for any company in the world. You can meet customer needs. So who better than you understand the needs of your customer? So why having someone else create a solution for your customer when you have all the content that you need, all the information that you need, and you can put that together for your customer within the journey experience that you have created. You can compete head-to-head with the banks. And then people are going to say, well, but we have big banks here in Brazil, for instance. But they were not created to be integrated with anyone else. They were created to be separate entities from the whole world. They are trying to catch up. This is why they are buying fintechs all over the place to try to make things easier for them. But definitely, the fintechs and the other companies that came later, they are ready for it. And you can have solutions that is a niche solution. It's based on the customer portfolio that you have. It can serve people from, I don't know, we have a customer, for instance, that acts on the north part of Brazil. They go for small Indian, it's not the right word, I don't remember the name now, but a small village in the north part of Brazil. And it's a very special solution that they have with their own brand and achieving their needs. So it's different from having a POS from Cielo or from Rede or from GetNet. So it's different, right? So how this journey started, right? So in the beginning, you used to have barter. You used to trade things. So I used to bring, let's say, a call to the market and look someone who needs a call and try to exchange something. Funny thing, we should do that, right? So if you sell a car, normally someone is going to say, do you accept my car as part of the payments? Do you accept my apartment as part of payments? If you look in the market, in Mercado Libre, for instance, or Alex, you are going to see that happening all the time. You just don't call that trading anymore, but you still do that. Then it starts having shells and grains. For instance, the pyramids, they used to receive barley as part of payments. The Roman soldiers used to receive salt as part of payments. Then in China, they start to having coins. So coins was easier. So you have gold, silver, copper, and things like that, especially copper in the beginning. But this is a problem, right? So I always remember those cartoons where they catch those big bags of coins and so heavy to take, and then they decide to have paper notes, which is easier, right? So you can have bigger values within all the weight of the coins. And this was China again. And then paper bank notes, which was kind of promises of payments and things like that. Then the checks in the 17th century. England create the gold standard to avoid inflation. So it's not you are going to create from money from the thin air, but you are going to have gold that somewhere they're going to say, okay, your money is worth that because you have gold. The problem with gold is that this is a thing that has limits, so it's not everywhere. So if you have a big growth and expansion in economics, you cannot have gold as a standard. So now we use a fiat methodology to evaluate the currency value. So we start to have these charge plates, which was the grandfather of the credit cards in the 30s. In the 50s, we start to have The credit cards, the first one was a discovery card. And it's kind of funny story. The guy went to have a dinner with customers, and then he realized that he didn't bring the wallet with him. So he has to call his wife, ask the wife to come there and to give him the money to be able to pay. But then he figured out that, oh, we need to have something that I can pay later. And then he started to have a diners club, because this first started with dining, and then it get bigger and bigger and bigger with Bank of America, American Express, and this became, especially in the US, something that was largely accepted. Then in '86, we have the cashback with Sears and Discovery. So Sears create a cashback card that from 1% to 5%, all the purchase that we did, the money returned to you. And this became something so big that they spun off the company, and this is Discovery right now. So Discovery brand is something that came from a retailer and was embedded finance already. And the cheap card for the EMV, so we get rid of the use of the mag stripe behind the cards, because this is really easy for the fraudster to use. Digital wallets, mobile payments, and this is mobile payments when you receive an SMS, you confirm the SMS, and then you pay it with this. So this was Ericsson, and it was in Europe. Then we start to see IoTs being merged with the mobile payments, so having other kind of platforms. Mobile payments itself, so being able to use Google Pay, Apple Pay, those kind of things. In 2009, here in Brazil, we have the central bank acting and getting rid of the duopoly that we used to have for everything that was Visa and MasterCard. This is not the first, but this was one of the movements that the central bank did to make the competition to be bigger, to have more companies acting. So try to reduce the interest rate, the cost of the merchants has to pay for having to accept credit cards. They try to avoid the exclusivity that they used to have. So if you have Visa, you don't have Master, or if you do have them, you have to have 1, 2, 3 machines, because at that time you used to have also American Express machines. So it was very cumbersome, was very costly for the merchants. The contactless payment, so now it's kind of normal, right? So you go to a store and you kind of don't put the card anymore, right? So just tapping and make it works. So it's faster. Normally you don't have to type the password here in Brazil below 200 reais. So it's easier, and again, make the process more streamlined, right? And Google and Samsung contact payments came later. So Pix. So Pix is very interesting here. Believe it or not, we kind of, Brazilians, I think that we don't have much proud from what we do. But Pix received a prize of one of the major innovations in 2021. It was not the first instant payment solution in the world. The first one was in England. But the adoption and the kind of depth that Pix has in Brazil is pretty big. So it's pretty different. The number of transactions, India is bigger than us. First of all, they have 1 billion people there, right? And they have their solution for longer time than us. Their solutions was launched in 2016, and now in 2020. But we're seeing a pretty big agenda coming from the central bank to try to make it more prevalent in the market. So we are seeing now Pix taking part of what was Boleto here in Brazil, DOC here in Brazil, TED, debit card, and you're going to see with the solutions that the central bank is coming have in mind, they taking part of the credit card as well, right? Is part of the pie, but also we're going to see that the pie is getting bigger, because now we're seeing the digital bankings coming in, and more people that were not part of the banking system being part of the banking system as well. So the central bank is being very important in this whole journey, right? So not only with the Visa and Mastercard and Card, duopoly back in 2009 with Pix, but they have created a lot of new licenses to try to compete against the traditional banks that we have in Brazil. Different from what we have in Europe and especially in the US, here in Brazil, everybody knows that we have 5 big banks. The banks in the US try to came here and try to, take us by storm. They never were able to compete in this market. So they kind of have a difficult to understand the market, how it works. There were inflation at that time and things like that, and all of them left the company. So they were bought by the local banks that we have. But with the new fintechs, the IP license, SCD, SEP, and things like that, those kind of licenses are creating new companies that are able to fulfill the banking, the credit, and other solutions in a way that the banks can't. For a big bank to be able to move for a new direction takes time. They have to see a lot of money coming from this new direction. And sometimes say, why I'm going to do that? Maybe I'm just eating my margin because I'm cannibalizing some other products that I have. So a fintech in this space is more nimble and is more willing to do those kind of things, right? So this is why we're seeing the digital bankings coming and having more people joining every day. And of course, we have people that is in this digital age that is coming to an age, so they are becoming now adults, and they want to have a solution that is no traditional, like my father. So why I'm going to use Itaú if I can use Neon or something like that, right? So this is kind of, it's cooler to be in those kind of digital banks instead of to be a Bradesco account holder, right? So if you look for how we are using things here, so Pix is the #1 here in Brazil, believe it or not, right? But you still see DOC being used, which is kind of funny. Why people are using DOC? It takes a day to see the money coming to your account. But there are people that are not techie savvy, or they are afraid to use those kind of things, or the whole process of Pix is not streamlined as they should, right? So right now, to be able to pay with Pix, you have to have QR codes and things like that. So it's not that streamlined. We need a better solution for that. So there is payment links, things like that, that is going to make the life easier in the future. But right now, there are some improvements that can be done. The payments market grows 2 digits. It doesn't matter if it's in a crisis or not. It's 25% almost. This is a huge increase. Nevertheless, this market is much smaller than the US, for instance. In the US, is pretty normal to see credit card. Here in Brazil, sometimes you go to a place and you are not able to use your credit card. So I do have problems because normally I don't have my wallet with me. So if I'm going to park my car and I have to ask, do you take credit card? Do you accept tap on phone or something like that? Because otherwise I have to find a different place to be able to park my car. Online transactions. I remember that many years ago, this was something that nobody wants to do, right? Especially on the phone. Why we are going to buy something using that small screen, right? Nowadays, we go for the store, we look for the refrigerator, you look for the furniture, whatever. Then you go back to your house, make sure that you are buying the lowest price possible, and you buy it online. This is pretty normal. If you look for the embedded finance, this is growing very rapidly. So we are talking about 300% increase. But there is a paper from McKinsey that says that this market is going to be a 7 trillion market by the end of the decade. Again, if you're not part of it, you're missing out. And sometimes it's thinking about the process that we have and try to figure out how can you be part of this? How can you eat a piece of this pie? So why use embedded finance? First of all, you can pick solutions that fit your needs, your business needs, your customer needs. You can iterate, so you don't have to create that yourself. there's a lot of risk. The compliance is a pain in the neck. The regulations, all the new laws that comes, and you have to take care of it. For instance, at Zoop is not only the platform, but you do offer all this process that happens behind the scene. So you can ask someone to do that for you. Just integrate this part, and you are part of the system, and you are going to take a part of this chart, this pie. You can keep focus on your business. So why you're going to create a banking inside of a company? So can you imagine the kind of a business case you have to prepare and to sell to the board? So maybe you can start small, like the agile mentality. So it's going to have an MVP. I'm going to try this, and this is I'm going to invest this money. This is going to be cheaper. This is going to be faster, and then later on, maybe this is going to be something internal. Maybe this is going to still external thing. But again, you are eating part of the pie. And you can improve your customer experience, because by the end of the day, this is what you want, right? You want your customer to remain your customer. So what kind of companies can use embedded finance? To be honest, any kind of company. Retail is pretty common. I'm not going to talk about it again, but we all use that in the retail. Healthcare. We do have a customer that is in this line that they use to make to offer financial and installments plans for their customers, right? So there is a place for healthcare, and this is just maybe one silly example. Travel, you can offer, beside of the payments, you can offer, for instance, travel insurance, FX, things like that. So it's easier for you to offer and to put together in that customer journey. Real estate, you can offer financial and things like that. Oops, sorry. So just a couple of, this is some of the customers that we have at Zoop. And I don't know, my time is kind of bad right now, right? So I'm on the dot, maybe. But let's talk about Itaú. It's kind of funny to see Itaú here, right? So it's a big bank that has an acquirer inside of them, which is Rede, right? Why do they need us? And they do need us. Because we have solutions that they are not able to provide, like split payments, right? And not just splitting the payment once because this is easy, but split many times until the time the transaction is settled. So we have solutions, and the fintechs has, normally they have solutions that are much easier to integrate and is ready for the market when they are trying to, again, to catch up, right? OLX has all the payments with us, and also the banking part. So they have a banking, a digital account they are offer for their customers that is using our platform. For new, we have tap on phone. So there is a POS using their Android cell phone as a POS. So instead of buying and having a POS, you can use your POS as a form to accept the payment, not using payment itself, not the card, right? And so on. But iFood, the last one. iFood has a solution that I think that is nice, because if you have a driver that is going to deliver the food for you, maybe they are going to bring the POS from the restaurant, but maybe they are going to bring a POS from iFood. Every time they bring a POS from iFood, this is a POS that inside has our technology. So maybe they are delivering a pizza for you. So when they arrive at your home, the POS configuration changes and it becomes the POS from this pizza place. Later on, they're going to deliver, I don't know, maybe beer, because they are offering those kind of things right now as well, right? So then it's going to become, the same POS is going to become the supermarket and so on and so forth. So you don't have to have multiple POS at hand. So it makes the solution better, simpler, and things like that, okay? Well, I kind of, yeah, so we have some questions here, sometimes for questions, and I kind of speed up in the end, so can be in Portuguese.
Como que você enxerga naquela última fase, onde a gente já está no Pix, E aí que a gente vai ter o Pix parcelado, como é que vocês enxergam as bandeiras? Qual que vai ser o papel das bandeiras aí nesse cenário?
Essa é uma pergunta legal. This is a nice question. So what's going to happen with the card schemes with Pix, getting Pix parcelado, Pix guaranteed, and things like that? I think they're going to suffer, right? So they have to rethink their model. They have to rethink the prices they are charging, the MDR and things like that, the interchange and so on and so forth. But they are not going to vanish. We are seeing that the plastic is going to vanish for many, many years and still seeing plastic all over the place, right? So they are going to have a place. But I think that the piece of the pie that they have is going to be smaller in terms of in percentage, maybe not in terms of money because the market's still growing, right? But they are buying fintechs and they are trying to be in this marketplace, in this space as well. Anyone?
Do you have any plans with international Pix, or your market is just focused on the domestic?
International Pix is something that is being discussed within the within some central banks. So we have solutions in Australia, in Argentina has one, Portugal, and some other countries. So there is the Bank of Banks or something like that. There is this big central bank for central banks that is going to regulate those kind of things. This is in the future. I know that is in the agenda of the central bank here in Brazil, but I don't know. It depends on how it's going to be used. The concerns that I have is how it's going to, the FX is going to work, who's going to take care of those kind of things. This is so. This is going to be nice. I think that this is going to hurt the card schemes much more, because then when you go abroad, you can use a Pix to pay them, and you're going to see probably cost going down, especially for even for the FX, because you have the FX for that moment. So you don't have to be concerned about when I'm going to pay when the card arrived, right? So this is going to be nice, but it will depend on the central bank for that. Guys, so thank you very much. I know that the presentation is very hard to see from the back. We have a QR code here, so you can, if you can take the picture here, you can find this presentation there, right? So it's going to be easier for you to contact us and to see what was presented here today. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and interest.